Okay, well, my name is Brian McQueaery. I'm 44 years old. Where I'm at now, I'm married. I have 2 children. I just regained sole custody of my daughter Marianne. I'm also I'm involved in the in leadership in the Reformers Unanimous program. I attend, faithful member of my church. I serve in the choir, and I am the Chief Operating Officer for All Red Industries. Well, I came to the House of Hope a complete disaster, as they say, a homeless, hopeless drug addict. I arrived here. I had just gotten out of jail again, sentenced to 12 years in prison, suspended to 5 years probation. I had previously spent 15 years behind bars. I lost everything that ever meant anything, including my daughter. No place to go, just basically living a drug addicted life. I was in the spring of 2022 graduation. I arrived here on March 1st, 2021, and I came in like a tornado. You know, I thought that, like everything else in life, you know, I was going to extort the gray areas, and I was going to bend the program to my will and basically slip through the cracks, like I've done my entire adult life. Not unfortunately, fortunately, God is better than that, and He put the strength of the men in my life that are found here in the House of Hope. You know, to name a few, I want to, you know, Mr. White and Mr. Harold Watson were just paramount in the change in my life. And so there's a church around the corner on Irby Street there that does just a resource center for the homeless, and they encouraged me to go there. I think Mr. White might have encouraged it. Mr. Myers, I believe, is who actually took me down there. And, you know, with that same, like, you know, just attitude that I carried everywhere, I'm walking around the booths, and I'm like, man, this isn't for me. You know, I don't need to be here. And I made it all the way around, and then I got to the South Carolina Legal Services, and I was like, well, why not? You know, that's a prompting of the Holy Spirit that moves us to do something that's usually outside of our comfort zone. And so I just kind of introduced myself, and they asked how they could help me. I told them I was interested in pursuing custody of my daughter. And so they had me fill some paperwork out. I explained that I was in the House of Hope program. And that process began. Like I said, last week, my wife and I went to our final court hearing. And at the end of that court hearing, I was awarded sole custody with full discretion of my daughter, Marianne. You know, the judge said something to me that no judge has ever said before. She said, "Sir, you have shown a history of making good choices, and I trust your judgment." I'm not living under the oppression of my choices, my negative choices any longer. Today I'm living in the freedom that God gives me as a child of His.
My name is Julie McQueaery. I'm married to Brian. I previously have worked in education, and then once we had our son, I've stayed home since. Brian and I met almost 3 years ago. This July will be 3 years. So I really didn't know Brian. I had seen him around church. I'd seen him with Marianne. Our church had a day where they kind of showcased our addictions ministry, and I believe Brian gave his testimony as well as his roommate at the time. So I learned a little bit about him then, but he was not on my radar at all for anything. And I guess a couple months after that, Corbett, who leads our addiction ministry at our church, pulled me over to the side to ask me about Brian, if I was interested in him. And I didn't really say one way or the other because I didn't know anything about him. I guess that was after we had seen each other at the ball game, but in my mind, I was just talking to friends. I didn't, you know. Actually, those same friends, I had told them about what I had been asked, and one of them shared some things with me that they had learned about Brian in a conversation they had had with him, and told me that he would be worth me getting to know, whether it led to anything or not. So I took a chance on that. Corbett introduced us one Sunday morning, and then we went over to the same friend's house that evening after church to kind of get to know each other. I sat on the opposite side of the table as he did. But anyways, things progressed quickly from there, and then within 7 months of meeting, we got married. I've seen Brian grow in a lot of different ways during that time. He had a strong character when I met him. I think people would tell you he's the nicest man they know. He has a very high level of integrity, and he still does. You know, obviously he wouldn't be where he was without the Lord, but God used the House of Hope to give him the structure that he needed to set really just rules and discipline and boundaries in his life that he wouldn't have had without them. And he had to learn to operate within those boundaries in order to make good and healthy choices. So yes, I'm eternally grateful to the House of Hope because they brought my husband to me. So.
And they give you a place to sleep, food to eat, you know, and you start working towards, you know, getting that job, and then start, you know, paying those fines and getting that license back and getting on top of your child support. You know, it took the House of Hope to give me the structure that was, like my wife said, to give me the boundaries, to understand what it means to, you know, have authority in my life and to obey that. You know, they teach us in our at church, you know, obedience is doing what you're supposed to and not doing what you're not supposed to. You know, I would ride that fine line of doing both, you know, hiding what I was doing while making it look good and doing what I was supposed to do. So, you know, I'm definitely grateful for, I will forever be indebted to what the House of Hope has done in my life. And my wife and I are looking for ways to get further involved with the house. I do testimony at the Ark. You know, we attend the Night of Hopes, and, you know, we're looking to find a way in our finances to donate and give back and just, you know, give them the same love that they gave to us.
My name is Mary Ann. I'm 9. I'm here today to show how my daddy's life has changed, and that has changed my life. It helped my dad to trust Jesus, and when he trusted Jesus, he stopped smoking and stuff like that. But now I get to live with Daddy and Mom, and of course my baby brother Nathan. Well, in school I have been getting straight A's in school now that Daddy's put me in a good Christian school. I used to not be in a good Christian school. I used to be in a public school, and in that public school people would do mean things to other people and stuff like that. But in this Christian school, people won't let you do that stuff. I get to do violin lessons, I get to do volleyball, I get to do soccer, I get to do baseball, I get to do cheerleading. Well, this year I'm doing volleyball camp, and I have a feeling, well, next week I'm doing volleyball camp. I have a feeling that I'll love volleyball camp. Maybe a little bit better than baseball.